You have Marcos, despite having no previous experience in the agriculture sector, appointing himself as the incoming, at least in an interim period, as the incoming agriculture secretary. What does that bring to the table?
I think we particularly welcome that because as our current secretary said, that hopefully if the president is at the helm of the department, the sector will be given the proper investment. And we look at the data for 20 years and we found out that there's so much underinvestment by the government on the agricultural sector. The average investment, using reference as the GAA, is around percent of our GAA goes to agriculture compared to other countries like 4 to 6%, Thailand and Vietnam. So there is a persistent underinvestment in agriculture. And if you look further on the data, most of that budget really goes to supporting rice productivity enhancement program, meaning there is nothing left for the development of other commodities like corn, livestock, poultry, etc., vegetables, etc., which are also badly needed if we are to maintain a high level of nutrition among our people. So that's the sad story of agriculture in the country. And that's the reason why we welcome it, because once the president says that, okay, to Congress or to our economic managers that you have to put more money to agriculture, then we would not have a lot of objections or oppositions, which we experience under this current administration.
But other than budgetary constraints here, he did mention as well that there's a restructuring, a retooling needed in the agency. What do you think are these segments, at least of the DA, that needs restructuring at this stage?
If you look at it, we have tons of studies analyzing the problems of the agricultural sector. We are never short of studies from the World Bank, ADB to PIDS, etc., etc. The problem is really in the execution, and that's where we lag behind our neighboring countries. The operationalization of all those plans, concepts, and ideas. And that's the reason why, besides the fact that we need to restructure some of the units in the department, I think we should add the fact that we have to increase the human capacity of the people in the Department of Agriculture. As the current secretary has been saying, we need to professionalize the ranks. The problem actually springs from the fact that since government positions, particularly the senior ones, now offer a more attractive compensation, there are a lot of people who want to come into the government despite the fact that they're not qualified for the jobs. And they normally get it because of political loyalties to certain politicians who become their sponsors to become officials of the government. That's the sad reality. I'll give you an example. For example, regional offices of the Department of Agriculture handles about 1.8 billion, depending on the size of the region, to almost 4 billion a year annually. If you're in the private sector and you have a branch having that amount of money, you will put the best managers to handle 1.8 billion to 4 billion annually. Unfortunately, we cannot do that here because a lot of some of the appointees are, the proteges of some politicians, and they're put in the position even if they're not qualified to handle the jobs. That's just the hard reality.
Now, one major hurdle, of course, for the incoming administration, inflationary pressure. I mean, Marcos himself said that he expects food prices to rise even further in the near term. So far this year, as it is, which products are experiencing these increases at least, and what's been causing this, and how long do you expect the trend to continue?
Yes, unfortunately, it will keep on increasing across the board. If you look at it, the inflation rate is negative before, but you will feel that an increase, a notch, rise inflation by this coming 6 months. The main reason is the increase in production costs. We have calculated that through the Philippine Rice Research Institute. The increase is about average of 3.13 pesos per kilogram of rice. So tumaas na talaga. So, and if you look at across the board, for example, pork, that has been affected by ASF, about 25% of our hog population was decimated. So because of the shortness in the supply, that will increase. In terms of poultry, because of the increase in the feeds, because if you look at the cost of production of poultry, about 60 to 70% of the cost of production is animal feed, which is basically your corn and feed wheat, which is an inferior wheat. And since our local corn production only can meet about at most 60%, we need to import about 3 million metric tons of feed wheat, which is difficult now because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, because a lot of wheat, about almost 28% of the wheat in the world market is produced by these two countries. So there's very tight supply of feed wheat, and therefore very tight supply of animal feed. And that is the one causing an increase in your poultry products, and you will notice that they're also becoming smaller because of the lack of feeds. And your pork, because 50 to 60% of the production cost of pork is animal feeds. And in terms of aquaculture, your fish, about almost 70 to 75% of your production cost is again feed. So that is driving up the cost of all these products, basic food products. And of course, plus the factor that fertilizer is an important input to planting, particularly rice, which has actually tripled in terms of price. So those are the things that driving, including your vegetables. So that is a real, as I said, I was saying is that if 2020 or 21 is the crisis, is the COVID crisis, I think we're looking at 20 to 23 as the food crisis years. So that's the reason why we welcome the president himself taking over, because this is the next crisis that we're facing, and it holds the potential of unraveling into a social unrest. Because if there are food shortages, people will just get mad.